For early access to more videos like this, plus exclusive content, community discussions, and more, become a patron at patreon.com/BrucePoinsett. Welcome to the Blacktastic Adventure, a virtual exploration of Oregon's Black diaspora. I'm your host, Bruce Poinsett, and today I'm speaking with Intisar Abioto. Intisar, born in Memphis, Tennessee in 1986, is an artist working across photography, dance, and writing. Moving from the visionary and embodied root of Blackgirl Southern cross-temporal, cross-modal storytelling ways, her work refers to the living breath and breadth of people of African descent across the expanse of their storied, geographic, and imaginative landscapes. And normally this is the spot where I say, and now check out my interview with Intisar, but I briefly just want to say that maybe more so than anyone next to my parents, Intisar is probably the reason why this series is happening. It's no secret I'm heavily inspired by her work with the Black Portlanders photography project. I also got to work with her on, let me pull it up right here, the State of Black Oregon, where we went around Oregon doing case studies on Black life, from Klamath Falls to Astoria to Pendleton. And we actually used to joke and call it Bruce and Intisar's Blacktastic Adventure. It's kind of it's the underground name like Raekwon's Purple Tape, but I digress. Anyways, earlier this year, I had an interview with Intisar for something else, and then we just kept talking, and it turned into one of those frank but very necessary Black arts discussions. Now, I'm not saying it's Nikki Giovanni and James Baldwin in 1971 or No Name and Boots Riley from earlier this year, mainly because I was there, interjecting into Intisar's brilliance. But I will say it gives you plenty of food for thought, and I think you're really going to enjoy it. So check out my interview with Intisar. It's funny because, again, we get these prompts about, like, it's weird because, the joke before was just like, we get all, not obviously not all, but like, sometimes it feels like you get like 90% of your work during February. And then this month, we happen to have just a booming time for Black Death. And it's like, oh, it's like Black History Month is extended to the summer.
Everybody, come on. Come on again.
Yeah. Like people, but like we're working, the guys is, this, well-meaning guys, but then when you unpack it, you're like, okay, it's still working under these white-owned, white-operated, most of the time, institutions. It's on this like timeline that is just eerily marked by Black death because, like we talked about at the beginning of this conversation, it's like, it's Trayvon Martin, it's, post George Floyd now, or post, insert a name here because every whatever. And it's like, okay, if that's still the power dynamic, if that's still what's happening, and it just, like it's kind of interesting watching this from like doing more organizing work and seeing younger people engaging with this has been really, stressful, one, but also just like, like early on, so like earlier in June, you see like when we're having, these unprecedented, marches and rallies in Lake Oswego and everything. And you're seeing, people who they've been trying to do work in their schools and whatnot and gotten, no attention or ignored. And then some, like there's a level of excitement of, oh, finally people are coming here. But, in my mind, I'm thinking, when do I don't want to burst the bubble, but at the same time, I also want to be real with some of these kids about like what's happening, because before you get super excited about the numbers, understand what comes with that, understand who is actually there that you think is cheering you on or is there for you, because it's not, you know, even even if, you know, the business minded person in me is like, you know, whatever it is, make sure you get, you know, make sure you get compensated at least, so you could take that away. But, you know, beyond that, just like, that doesn't, like you said, it doesn't take away. You can still be a super, like, they could pay you greatly, but if it's still a traumatic experience, it's still a traumatic experience. It's still, you know, all this other stuff that comes with it. And if we can't, I think it's just like times like these really, like, it really, it's the word I'm looking for. It just really brings that out for, you know, like like I was saying, I think I was trying to say when I first started this little rant, is that, you know, we get these prompts of, so what does it all mean now, post George Floyd or post whoever, or post, you know, and it's like, that's the question you want to, that's the question that, you know, is comfortable in, you know, this sort of white powered framework, but that's the question you want to hear. But like when we're talking, when we're, you know, going through these things, it's like, okay, it's just, it's another, you know, it's just the latest one of these incidents. It's just like, what's the convert, like, we only get, we get paid for, you know, to make, like, you talk about why you make art, and then you think about, you know, I juxtapose that with like why I write, and then I think about, but what are these institutions paying me for when we do this? Like, because they're paying for the art or an interpretation of the art for them. They're paying for an interpretation of the writing for them, for in their context, you know, a framework that's comfortable for them, and, you know, an ongoing conversation about Black death that doesn't seem to, you know, they're apparently comfortable with continuing to have. And like, at what point is, even if you put the most well-meaning guys on it, and you know, you interact with people who are, you know, not problematic people at all, you know, they're generally, you know, delightful people within these, you know, institutions, like, even then, like, it just, it hits like, yeah, it's just, it's eerie. It's really, really eerie, and just makes you think, well, you know, I've tried this. I've, you know, I gotta make a living. I gotta, you know, do that. So, but at the same time, just like, yeah, this isn't it. This, I'm supposed to, you know, I'm supposed to be excited about what, like, how do I get excited if, you know, I can predict the ebbs and flows in my income, again, based off of Black death. Like, that, that's sick.
Yeah, it is. It is. It is sick. And it's, man, wow. Yeah, it's funny. And by funny, it's obviously not funny. I mean, it's like, it's something you have to kind of like keep your eye on or sense to kind of figure out the, like, the, where the weight is, you know? Yeah, it's like, yes, amplify Black voices. Like, yes, amplify or reveal. It's not even just amplify, reveal, like, or just push the sand, push what's been put over it, you know? Like, even some of its language, like, I think a lot about this thing around take up space, like, but we are space. Like, you know, like, I don't want to have to, you know, like, I take up space. It's like, no, I've been here, whether or not, you know, I'm here, you know, like, and also that we have to move into spaces, like, in some ways, yeah, we're moving, like, I don't know, it's like, you have to keep, like, shifting your eyes such that, because the way it's also entrenched, it'll situate itself in almost anything that you put out, you know, like, you almost can't get, I don't want to say you can't get away from it, but in some ways you kind of can't. Like, you can, you know, but also like, yes, like, it's important to have Black artists. Yes, it's important. No, it's important for Black artists to be and reside where they're at. Like, it's important for us to for people, for the world to be in revelation towards all the spaces that we already exist and will and can and have. It's also important because, like, white supremacy, capitalism, patriarchy, all these different things, like, we'll try to find a seat in almost anything that you do. Like, you know, it will make its way. Like, capitalism will attempt to use what you got, you know, like, all these things will attempt to make it about them, you know, make it about this other thing, you know. Like, I'm glad for that work, you know, up there. You know, I'm glad for the work that I do. And I've also had to take time to dodge the appropriation of things, the appropriation of myself as a Black person, as what has been. I'm not the youngest artist out here anymore. I'm 34, but I know what it means to be a young artist, you know, trying to trying to reveal, push away the sand from Black existence where it already is. And also, like, being brought in, asked to do things where people, they don't want to change. They want you to be the change, you know? But they also get mad when you are the change, you know? And there's something about art that can be beautiful and intoxicating and enriching and thrilling. And there are ways in which the art doesn't end at my finishing it. Well, in ways it does. It ends because I finished it. But for Black artists who can move in and out of, I'm making work for myself. I'm making work because I'm tired, because I'm sleepy, because this is my prerogative. Like, I'm making work for Black presence or liberation. You can move through all those things and it still be valid and relevant. It's just, I don't know, it's both the thing and the catalyst. And also when you're just brought in just for racial dynamics, you know, like, it's tricksy. It's real tricksy. But yeah, I made myself someone who's trying to, like, preserve Black feeling and memory, you know? And I think I've been coming to whether or not anyone sees it at any given time, I'm collecting, you know? And I think at one of those conversations we had a long time ago, you said that, like, you know, sure, the work's important now, but it may be more important later, you know, like, all these images, you know. And I've been collecting a lot of stuff that people haven't seen, you know. I've taken a lot of pictures that people haven't seen, and, like, handling it with care is a responsibility that takes time, you know. And because there's so much writing, there's often so much writing on what Black people do in regard to, like, our whole Black memory, you know. And you don't want to mess it up, and you don't also want to be lobbed in with white supremacy, you know. Like, because we're so traumatized and sensitive, like, even that I don't know if you saw that stuff around that Viola Davis cover. Did you see that stuff?
I've seen like the headlines. I haven't really dove into the story.
Yeah.
I just saw it's like she's like, yeah, I regret doing the help, and that's
Oh
something.
yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, that. But like she was the there's a Black photographer who did a cover of her this month for Vanity Fair. It was the first Black photographer to do a cover. And one of the source images that he used as kind of inspiration and protest, had you seen there's a photograph of a Black man who was enslaved, and it's his back, and it's like all the scars. Had you seen that before?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he has her in that same pose, but it's like a very glamorous image. And there was so much backlash around it. There are people who loved it, but there are a lot of Black people who were like a lot of backlash. Like, why would you associate her with this image? And I don't have anything to say one way or another about it for this, but even when you're trying to do stuff, like, and you're Black and you're trying to do stuff in ways that you think will be of service, you can make a mistake, or because we have so many different eyes that there are Black people who still won't like it, for reasons that are right or good or not, and there's so much pressure. There's a lot of pressure. So maybe I'm just taking a lot of time. But in the I won't even say it's post George Floyd. I say it's every time. Like, it's all the time. Like, what if we think about it not post George Floyd? Like, it's just so many names. It's interstitial. Like, I'm just out here, a Black artist trying to gather stuff from my folks, understanding that I'm beyond my timeline, like, I'm trying to live beyond my timeline, act beyond my timeline. Like, thinking a lot about my ancestors. Like, I have my great grandfather was born a slave. And that sounds crazy, like, that's just 3 generations back, like, yeah, I'm just taking a different approach. Yeah. Yeah.
No,
I don't know.
yeah, but again, like it makes sense just because, like, right now, it just really makes you think that the time, like I guess, like, the increased interest, in your time, in your services at, these moments, again, that are, marked by Black death. Like, it's, you can't help but really, like, reassess, like, how am I using my time? How am I controlling, my, like, my expression, my output, my, all my, like, yeah, I mean, we're talking about before.
Yeah.
If your schedule, you're on the schedule, you wake up, you're like, oh my God, I got everything, that's something every day this week. I've got all these, all these commitments. And what is the basis for it? Is it, is it to serve?
That's the question. That's the real question. Thanks for telling me that. What is the basis for it? What am I doing? Thank you.
Why, like, again, I'm a believer in, like, doing the things, like, as a means to an end when it, makes sense. And, like, doing some of these jobs where it's like, okay, I get this, so hopefully I have the money so I can buy my own whatever. I can do this, or I can, I don't have to do this anymore.
Yeah.
It's real. And then, you get, it's something I worry about with, a lot of people, just being able to, we say like control your own destiny seems just kind of like a throwaway phrase, but like, it's something you really, so you consider, yeah, it's something, you really want to do. It's something I always have to like constantly remind myself, like, remember the goal. Don't remember the mission. Remember, it's not about like all these get into all these conversations, these different efforts where again, it's like, if I unpack everything, white supremacy is controlling this conversation. The white gaze is dictating how we're having this conversation, even when no white people are in the room, which is a weird phenomenon. But it's like, if my goal is to get out of that, not just to, not because it's like, oh, I gotta spite the enemy, but because for my own well-being, for the well-being of my family, my friends, my like, I don't want freedom to win. I want freedom because freedom, right? And
exactly.
And we're just caught up. It's like you get caught up and you have like all these other, because money is kind of a distraction, but also attention, engagement, feeling important, feeling all these things that, like you said, and it goes away, it gets washed over, you get papered over, you get, especially places like Oregon, like they cycle through, you're the Black person of the moment, but then they find another one and another one and another one, and suddenly you get forgotten. Suddenly, doesn't matter what you did. And, I'm not sure how we got where I got here, but I'm just thinking,
that's still like, part of it.
Like, if it were left up, and granted, like, yes, he gets when I think about like some of like the elders who are, widely respected or widely like known, I guess they get, yes, it's a lot of like attention from, some of these like bigger institutions, but also like how many, if it wasn't for like the people in the community carrying their story or carrying their legacy, would it be like that? Like, would it be, like a, like, I, what's a good example? Like, like when Geneva's closed, like that, like, if it were up to just a lot of these institutions, it would just been like and I guess to some degree it is a come and go story anyway, but like to such a large, to more of an extent where it just would have been like a blip, or even would they even have talked about it if if that wasn't such a touchstone for so many people in the community, like,
yeah, man.
Yeah.
I think a couple things, like, yeah, it's like I just feel different, or I'm just thinking through a lot of things. Like, I mean, say I am forgotten, like, and I very could be. There's so many people who are forgotten. Like, I don't know, even though being able to be remembered, like, I've spent a little bit more time finding out about my ancestors, but, there's, after a certain while, I don't know their names, and like, and while I do have a certain level of artistic, like, notoriety in this region, like, I don't want to presuppose that as like I'm doing something, like, And I think I am doing something, like I said, like whether or not, and I've had to figure this out too, like let myself not be, because people want to see stuff, you know, like even with, and I'll say this, even with the Black Portlanders, like I'm still doing that work. Like I'm not publishing things on the blog right now because I've grown. Like it's not over. Like it's still up there. And you know, there are a lot of people who shared with me. I don't want to just say invested in me because that's a weird word to use. Like, you know, and sometimes we're saying we're made to use those kind of words. So and so invested in me, or this company, or you know, even with the Indiegogo, that people invested in me. You know, but I've been investing in this place. You know what I mean? Like, you know, like, and I've had to get out of that mindset of like, I'm still here. Like, I'm still working and gathering and figuring out how. I haven't left, you know what I'm saying? And even if I do leave, that doesn't mean I'm leaving, because my eye is towards Black presence everywhere. But like, but say I am forgotten, and I could be. Like, I want to really shared real things. And I'm really thinking about that a lot. Like, I don't want, yeah, like, yeah, I want to really have shared with people, and I want to have more one-on-one things. Like, I am kind of a, even though I am, you know, I'm still an introvert. You know, like, I get excited to see people and like can talk a lot when I'm out there somehow. But like, I don't actually in my life, I don't talk to a whole bunch of people about what I'm doing or going through. Like, I talk to my sisters. I have a few people, or well, I don't know. Maybe it's just that how people like engage with people is different. Like, some people have friends they talk to on the phone all the time. I don't have that. I have people that I care about a lot, but it may take me like a long time to, you know, I may not talk to them all the time. You know, like, I care about you a lot, but we don't like talk every day or every week or even every month. But like, yeah, I really just want to have shared with, I want to give something, and like, I don't want the eyes interpreting me to like influence what my stance and what I gave, you know. I really want to share. And I want to do it right. And even if a lot of certain people don't see what I'm doing or like what I'm doing, even like, I want to have tried. And I want to connect my trying to other Black people in the world who are sharing, and also to other people who want to share as well. And it's not easy. I think that a lot of, you know, I'll also say this, like, I've been thinking about this too, like, engaging with all this is not easy for us. And for people who want to be allies, don't assume it's going to be easy. Like, it's going to feel good, and then throw it back on us, because that's what I've experienced. The worst engagement, I'll say the worst engagement I experienced was when I wanted to talk about like how cities throw people away. They eat them up and churn them. Like, this city, like, you know, even with the, you know, homelessness, you know, and the gentrification and the building up, and like, or even like Vanport, you want people to come work, but then you don't care about them, you know, like, not caring about people as the basis of the structure of all of these cities and places, you know. you're expendable. And when I wanted to talk about that, I was made to feel like I was crazy. Like I didn't know, like this wasn't my area, you know, but all my work is about people, you know, like, and it's like, this isn't a game. This isn't a toy. We're not toys. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And like Black people who are doing stuff around Blackness, and we're all doing stuff around Blackness because we're Black, but we're not toys. You know what I'm saying? We're not like here and again folk, you know, like come in and do the thing and leave. Like, no, you need to do the work. You're not doing the work, I'm not coming. Like, I'm not gonna be there. I don't care how much it is. You're not gonna use me. Yeah. And maybe we're all being used in the midst of capitalism, and it's a work of trying to extract ourselves from like the madness. But I know we've gone all over the place with this, but it's all over the place. It's the whole world right now. Oh my goodness. It's the whole world. Yeah.
I feel that though. Like it's yeah, because it's something I've been trying to do. Is at least, you know, I'm not my time management and my work-life balance leave much to be desired right now. But like at least trying to be more intentional about saying exactly what you said. Like if you're not willing to do the work, we're not doing this. I'm not doing this. You can sit here and talk about, well, you're not, you know, you're not giving us a chance. No, we're not. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to. I don't care who you are. If you don't have, like, if you're just going to waste my time, if you're going to like basically say, well, either I can exploit you or I'm going to make it seem like you're the problem, then great. I guess we have a problem, but I'm not going to deal with you.
Yeah,
And
like miss me completely.
Yeah. But it's just it's wild. It's wild. It's exhausting. But you know, I don't know. Like it's again in this, you know, what you talked about with being remembered. Because Sila and I were having this conversation the other night, and you know, she was kind of checking me on this idea of like, and it was deserved, but like sort of like this individualistic pursuit and just like how much of a just masculine idea that really is in terms of just being like the idea that you can kind of like trade, you know, just the well-being of life or the, you know, the whatever, like, you know, take out certain amount of time you spend with your family or spend, you know, doing the working on these relationships to pursue a goal or pursue a task, and how it's like what really underlies that thought. And even, you know, like we were talking about through the guise of Marvel movies of all things, but like, you know, this idea of how like how do you, you know, Marvel's like, you know, the villain Thanos is trying to, you know, snap away half the universe or whatever. And it's like, well, how do you justify, how do you explain that? And my argument, my rationale was just like like no one gets to, and you said this before, like you create something, but then it kind of like it takes on a life of its own. And you generally, the vast majority of people, you know, if they have like a quote unquote life's work, they never see the totality of that. They almost always are going to die before that happens or something, you know, like, so like I said, my rationale then for the whole Thanos thing is like, you trade in everything else for the satisfaction of seeing the totality of your life's work accomplished. And the idea that, you know, was it energy isn't created or destroyed, it only, you know, it's replaced or whatever. Mm. It's like all that energy, the negative energy of failing at, you know, pretty much everything else you have to sacrifice to accomplish this one thing is juxtaposed with the satisfaction of accomplishing it and seeing it's like, oh, my life's work of, well, you know, getting rid of half the universe, but is my life's work of doing this, I've seen it, I've seen the influence, and, you know, it can only go down from here or whatever. I've done that and I get to retire to my garden. Great. Like, on one hand, you know, as just like, for my own bad work-life balance, I can totally see the appeal of that in theory. But then, you know, the flip side, of course, is, but what does that even, like, what does being remembered actually mean, right? Like, who decides, like, you don't really decide if you're going to be remembered or not. It's the people around you. It's other people who make the decisions about who history is taught, what history is kept and what's, you know, lost or destroyed, that, you know, years after, you know, you've passed on, you know, you don't determine that. So what does being remembered even really mean? And I've specifically been thinking about this with some of this like LO work, just because like I've been trying to kind of back away from some of it, trying to transition to, you know, doing other things, or at least like if I'm going to do this, doing it on more of my terms. Mm-hmm. But, you know, I've been thinking about like the consequences of that are going to be that like all this labor that I am proud of some of the things I've been able to do. Mm-hmm. And how much of that is going to end up getting erased just because if I'm not there in the immediate sense and everyone is tying this value to my contributions in this one field or this one area, not to mention I've also just, you know, in trying to, you know, advocate for Black people, advocate for not just, you know, advocate for Black people being able to thrive and live their lives and not on just like in a way that's comfortable to white people or comfortable to anyone else, you make a lot of enemies. You make a lot of people who can't wait to, you know, get rid of you for one reason or the other. And it's like having this, you know, the flip side is like, I need to get my space and my peace of mind, but how do I, you know, wrestle with that, with whatever satisfaction, like that, whatever satisfaction that might give to people I really want to give no satisfaction to, or people who, you know, like, and even then, what is the, you know, like I'm listening to myself say this and saying, what is the point? It's a never ending, like, I can hear myself not dictating my own life as I'm saying this. And it's just like, I, you know, it's why people talk about like, just burn it all down. Why not? But what's the point? Why are we doing all of this, you know, in, you know, not to get too esoteric, but it's like, okay, in what, 6 billion years or whatever they've estimated, this planet's going to be gone anyway. Like, you know, there could have, once upon a time, there could have been, you know, life on Mars that is long gone now just because of science and how things happen. Man. So how much does any of this really matter? And if I'm spending all this time, this finite piece of time that I have on this earth, and, you know, again, I have people I really care about, people really about life. How much am I taking away from that? Even because I'm like you, I'm a very introverted person. I don't, you know, I care, a lot of people I care about who I don't talk to, you know, very often, and who, you know, sometimes get the wrong idea from that. And I have to, you know, work on that. But like, I do get joy from being around people I want to be around. I get joy from, you know, even stuff like this, even though we're talking about just being, you know, just jaded and just in this, as you said, the swirl of this moment. But it's like, I still, you know, I genuinely enjoy, like, oh, I get to talk to Intisar. I get to see Intisar. I'm like, you know, but nice and like big letters on the calendar. It's, you know, I'm happy.
Yeah,
But
it's
like,
a good time.
yeah. And it's like, but I'm taking, you know, there's this notion of me wanting to, like, whether it's like, you know, some competitive leftovers from like high school sports or just a personality trait of like, there are things I do, tasks, activities I engage in where I want to be successful. I want to feel this accomplishment. I want, like, I've set out a goal of something I want to do. And if I don't do it, knowing I could do it, knowing I had the capability to do it, that's going to eat at me. But where's the balance?
Mm-hmm.
Because these other entities, whether they intentionally or not, are very much manipulating that, are very much like draining the life out of me because that's in play.
Yeah, yeah, man. Yeah, oh my goodness. Yeah, I mean, I think what you're talking about, when you first started talking about this last thing you first started talking about, I mean, it's a question of how you're gonna like use your energy, your time. Like, I thought about this recently too. Like, I thought about two things. I thought about, well, one, sure, I could imagine that my work could be really helpful in the future, and I hope that that's the case. But also, what if it isn't? What if something happens and it isn't? And also, for a lot of Black women in the past, a lot of their work has been lost. You know, I've had some of my work lost just by dint of like stuff, you know. But like, so what if it's like both working for the futures, we're in the future right now, but also like kind of scaffolding in the present alongside the ones you're with, you know, as an investment in time, investment in energy. Like, yeah, like, I guess like even plate tectonics, you know, like, I'm trying to think about that too, like also making sure that I'm investing in people in that word investing. By word investing, I mean sharing my life force with other people's life force in ways that it's about our life forces. And like, yeah, it's a question of, even when you're talking about that Thanos, that like the other one, there's Thanos, there's death, and then there's Eros and Thanos. But in any case, like sharing your love in the present, like, and as also the investment, like maybe we don't get more than this. I don't know, like, and what does it mean to like love in the present, and the tip, love in the present, as the giving you can do now, you know, instead of, and a lot of us are always steadily dodging white supremacist things, and you know, but also just like focusing on like the gifts we can give each other in the present as a joy too, you know, because even you're thinking about post George, we're pre somebody right now. Hey, it could be me, anybody, you know, we're pre somebody. And there's always Black people that are killed all the time, but especially we find out a lot about, I mean, we didn't know we were pre Elijah McClain until like a couple weeks ago. You know what I'm saying? Like, all these Black people we hear about being killed in the summertime. Like, what does it mean for us to love each other in the present tense? Like, and I was thinking about that a little bit, about like, you know, even things around capitalism and Black capitalism and, you know, different things. And of course you want to have stuff for your family, and you have to like build, you know, and even the ways that capitalism takes over our creativity. It like renames our creativity. It renames our what we put our energy into, you know, like you want to have stuff for yourself, or you want to have what you need, you know. But also, like, I'm thinking about these different Black people in these different eras of time, and if we're just working for ourselves, like, yes, that's nice to have stuff, but what would it mean? Just meant, it's funny because you could say that all of it's important. Like, what would it mean to try to build wealth, whatever wealth means, like in Reconstruction or like all this other kind of stuff? If you're just doing that and not being a part of something, that still feels like bonkers, you know. But also too, if you're, that's also like, I don't know, it's so many different questions. But and I'm sure others have different answers than I have, different questions than I have. But yeah, like, I really wanna, and even with photography, like I've spent 20 years. I started teaching myself, it's 10 years I've been in Portland, but 20 years that I've been doing photography this year. And like, there's still ways that I can be better, become a master in my work. But I could also, with everything that's happening, the way things are shifting in the world, and even with technology and so much stuff, I could do something else. You know, like, how do I keep up with, not keep up, but be in the time period that I am and start shaping it? I'm so interested in that. I feel a desire to like not just do what I think I do, you know, like I'm who knows what's happening. But I'm glad to have these conversations. I wanna one of the things I wanna make sure is I keep checking in with people, you know, like having these conversations. Yeah. But whew.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, again, I don't, you know, I set, again, obviously didn't have any questions, but yeah, I'm not sure if there's anything else you'd like to add in terms of the,
Yeah.
we just kind of been.
Yeah, let me think. I'm just saying, I'm just really kind of hung up a little bit, or not hung up, on Post George Floyd. There's so many names, like, you know, like, I'm just really trying to, like, just, even, like, you know, I had got this piece from like, from Melanie Stewart. You know Melanie Stewart?
The name sounds familiar, but
she does like the Nat Turner Project. Did you heard of it?
Oh, I know you. I don't know her, but I know who you're talking about.
Okay, yeah, yeah, she's great. But I bought this piece from her that, you know, she has this, you know, she is this piece of Ida B. Wells, and hey, you know, all the names she knew, like all of her work, like pre, post, who knows where we're at. I'm lost, you know. But yeah, and I feel like I'm also pre and post myself. Like, I don't have any answers. I'm just trying to figure stuff out. That's what I say.
Yeah. No, well, thank you. Like, it's, again, you know, obviously, you know, extract quotes and stuff from this, but like, I don't know, it's one of those things where like, oh, this is a more interesting conversation than whatever this piece is going to end up being.
It's all right.
It's just like,
It always. And I think that's important. You know, at least there's joy in that.
Right.
There's joy in that.